What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Dialed In. Today, I'm going live with one of my good friends, Isabelle. She's an NPC competitor in bikini and fitness. Sorry, bikini and figure. And we'll wait for everybody to hop on. This should be a good one, guys. We're going to talk about a lot of topics most people don't talk about, women-wise. Oh, there we go. What up, everybody? There we go.
Hi.
What up? What up? Hold on. Let me drop this down. Some because it's like zoomed in on my forehead. There we go. All right, we're good.
Cool. Am I turned around sideways?
You would be sideways, yes.
Okay. My phone's charging because I forgot to charge it. Let me just turn it this way. Okay, cool.
See if there's something you can put on, like, plan it up or something to make it, like, stand.
Oh, we're good. We're good.
All right. Well, as long as you got batteries. So, a couple things, guys. So, this live's going to be a little bit different than, some of my other ones. I do want to talk a lot about women for this particular one because I don't really see too many coaches or anybody talk about coaching women. Like, I mean, it's out there and there are some coaches, but specifically for my followers, I always talk about bodybuilders and all this crazy shit, but I do want to talk about some sides that people don't talk about for women. So we'll hop into that. But for those of you who don't know who this is, her name is Isabelle, and you could introduce the rest.
Hi, guys. So thanks for tuning in. Thank you, Cody, for having me. My name's Isabelle Dizon. I'm based out of San Francisco Bay Area, California. I'm a little more inland, so about 30 miles east. I went to Cal State East Bay, where Cody also went for his undergrad, and I'm currently doing my master's degree in kinesiology over at Cal State East Bay. So yeah, I'm going on my second year, and I start my thesis this semester, so I'm pretty excited. So yeah, that's who I am.
You're almost done.
Yeah, I'm almost done. I have about a year left. Well, I have a year left, and then yeah, I have my own online coaching business. I'm an NPC competitor, and I have a show in 2 weeks, which is why I look like so depleted right now. So
yeah. It's all right. I'm half coherent too. I just got done donating blood, so I'm only half awake, and then you probably only have like 1,000 calories, so you're probably a little off too, but it's okay. We'll still cover it. So a couple things, guys. So you could ask whatever you want. We'll answer it within reason. Don't ask some inappropriate shit, but you could ask whatever you want. And then I collected questions from TikTok as well as Instagram, so we could dive straight into it. All right. So pretty much, I wanted to put this question first because I think it's a pretty good topic. So what would you say the major difference is between macros when it comes to men versus women in prep or just fat loss in general? What would you say the major difference is?
Definitely protein intake, also definitely fat intake as well. As we know, some women are actually, from studies that I've read, is a lot of women do respond better with high fat diets compared to high carbs. And that has a lot to do with like how much fatty tissue they have in contrast to men. So yeah, that's what I understand and know. So yeah.
Yeah, no, a couple things when it's like coaching men to women. For women, guys, the major problem I see is it's almost like they're scared to have a high protein diet. I know you don't need like 200-300 grams like men do, but sometimes I talk to women, I do like a phone consultation. They're like, yeah, I'm doing like 75 protein. I'm like, you weigh 130 pounds. What would make you think you need to have 75 grams of protein? Like you need at least close to your body weight. It's very rare that I have women do less than 150 or 125 grams of protein when they're cutting down. And yeah, and as you said, fats too. What is it? It's women should have no less than 35 grams of fats per day. 30,
yeah.
35?
So according to the American Dietary Association and like American Heart Association, I understand that women should not go below about 25 grams of fats for intake, just to help with hormone regulation. Especially like when women are on their periods, it's actually better to have lower fats when they're leading up to, or higher fats leading up to their period, and then lower fats when they're like in the middle of, the bleeding period. Right now, I mean, I'm at 20 grams a day, but that's literally because I'm depleting. Like we're getting ready for a show. So it's totally uncommon to be this low for like the average individual, but I do not let my women go lower than 25, depending on the women's goal. Like, for example, if I have a bride to be and she wants to get ready and like, say like she has 8 weeks until her wedding, I'll say, okay, we're going to do like a brutal cut, but I'm going to regulate how your biofeedback is and also like give you some refeeds here and there and make sure that there's more fats included in that, as well as high carbs, just to help with the lean tissue development and also just maintenance of that. And also so we can keep her hormones at bay to keep being in a caloric deficit when we end that refeed period.
Nice. No, I completely agree with that. Yeah, for a lot of my women, I don't have very many bikini girls. I have some wellness. I have 2 wellness. But besides that, like, I just don't have that many bikini girls. But I really don't like getting fat under like 30. Like, that's like my breaking point. Because if I can get them super lean and get them shredded and they're still at 30 grams of fat, then like I know I'm chilling. But like I know sometimes for men, I have a tendency to kind of like go for fat first because we can actually function pretty well with a low fat diet. But for women, it's not really that simple. They'll start having some problems pretty quick and they might not have the best well-being. So yeah, fat's probably the last thing I touch when it comes to coaching women. All right.
Like fat does not leave the building, that like period. I've been there, done that. I had to go get, like, for anyone watching this, I had to go get blood work done, as any competitor needs to. And as soon as I got blood work done after my show in 2019, I was at risk for being hypothyroid, and amenorrheic, which means for anyone watching this, like if you are low in fats and you've done like a sustained period of dieting, like long-term dieting, especially when you get below a certain, the average intake, for caloric intake, especially for women, you lose your period, you're at risk for losing your period, your metabolism slows down, and hypothyroidism is basically where your body kind of acts as like, okay, it's my job to make this person gain weight and hold on to it and not be able to lose it. So we messed it up, but actually Cody was the one that stepped in to actually tell me to go get blood work done. So yeah, shout out to Cody for that.
When was that? When did we meet? Was that 2019?
Yeah, October. Like
yeah, all I can remember, like anything we talk about, we'll never say a name or anything like that. But just, I know when we met, or it was Christian, I believe, Christian, whatever.
Yeah.
Chris. So I just remember one day he texted me and he's like, "Yo, one of my good like chick friends has a problem with prep," and I was like, "Yeah, what is it?" And like he just said you were starving and doing all this crazy shit. And I was like, "Oh yeah, sure." Like, I don't really know her, but like I'll give her like a quick tip because I don't want to see any more women hurt. And I remember you just told me everything you were doing. I was like, "Holy shit, bro!"
Yeah,
like, how do I respectfully tell this chick that she needs to kill her previous coach because he or she is physically killing this individual? So
either way, someone in the comments just asked if they should take T3, and I'm going to tell you right now, unless you need to take T3, I really hope you have a medical condition that says otherwise you need to take a T3 enhancer. Otherwise, do not mess with any PED without supervision. Like, period. T3 is a very important hormone you should not play around with. If you play around with it too much, you'll either go through like slower metabolism, and if you're doing it incorrectly, and most likely you're not dosing it correctly because you do not have the guidance. But yeah, so don't mess with PEDs. Do not think that T3 is going to ramp up your metabolism the way that you think it will, unless you have a coach or a doctor to tell you otherwise.
And especially kind of like, because they finished what they say after. They said, "No, I just want to fast metabolism."
Yeah, it's not going to ramp it up that easily.
No, you need to eat more food. I know it's like a myth when they say like smaller meal space throughout the day boosts your metabolism. That's not necessarily how it works, but it's not going to hurt your metabolism. I always tend to feed my clients a shit ton of food, and then over time, they do have a fast metabolism. So maybe you're just not eating enough. Maybe you try spacing your meals out. Maybe you're just forcing too many calories at one time, and your body's just rejecting it, Yeah. But T3 is not the answer. And going to T4 or something, like, if you're just doing it just because you want to lose weight, like, you may actually need T4. You might just guess the wrong thing. You might have the wrong, you might be choosing the wrong hormone. But either way, all right, we'll keep it going. All right, so okay, so I guess you could answer this one because I know you're a woman. But they asked, how do you feel about the weight fluctuations that occur in prep when you're on your period, or like being a woman in general, having to deal with that? Because a lot of people, they gauge everything off of scale weight. So how do you get past that?
So as a coach who primarily works with women, this is very common for me to see. I don't work with competitors directly, but obviously I'm around so many female competitors that we kind of just take it as we're like, yeah, we're on our periods. What are we going to do? It's very common to see weight fluctuation regardless, because us women have more hormones to deal with and work with, whether we're on prep or off prep. But seeing it as like, okay, like, most of the time we're going to get refeeds by our coach when we're on our periods. If we're craving something, we're going to try to find something else to replace that craving. Let's say, for instance, like for me right now, anything that I'm craving, sweet craving, is going to be replaced with a diet soda, which is going to be cut out pretty soon because peak week is upon me in the next 7 days. But other than that, it's it is kind of like the mental tenacity we have to build over time. Like, okay, this is going to happen. Here's what we're going to expect. All we have to do is hit X, Y, and Z with our macros, our cardio, and our nutrition, and our workouts. And we're either going to see a lot more inflammation, or we're going to see the scale drop gradually. So it's not really something to put so much stress on, because it's not within our, I wouldn't say it's not within our control, because there is a way to go about macro syncing and cycling with your period. So yeah, but that's just the short answer is can't really do much unless your coach otherwise gives you protocols to follow to be in sync with your period and your exercise and macros.
Definitely. Yeah, no, greatly explained. Kind of branching off of it, I'd say the main thing, you know, I coach a pretty decent amount of women. I'd say my main focus is still men, because I'm a male coach, and I know a lot of people feel more comfortable with a girl coach. But I'd still say that, how do I want to word this? I guess I would say that a lot of women that are on my team, they do get very obsessed with the actual scale number. And I do have to explain to them, like, what can happen leading up to your period, while you're on your period, and then breaking it down. And a lot of my girl clients, I did have them read my fat loss book and read how I broke everything down, because sometimes it's kind of hard to explain it through text. So I have them read this long ass 10 paragraphs I wrote about it. But yeah, there's not a whole lot you can do about it. You know, men don't really have the period aspect of it, but I'm sure there's points during the month that you're stressed out, cortisol spikes, and the scale moves. But either way, can you go over the importance of sleep and recovery days? Sure.
Oh, yeah, that's super easy. But what I tag on with your period, if you are familiar with the FODMAP, there's high FODMAP foods and then low FODMAP foods. It's better to stay within the low FODMAP range, just so it's easier on digestion, it's easier on just your stomach, and obviously you want to eat high volume foods just to stay fuller, so that way you can, avoid the extra bites and licks. So yeah. But the importance of recovery and sleep days, this is super crucial, because I know a lot of people who have had let's quote unquote, some bodybuilding coaches, old school bodybuilding coaches, say you have to grind every single day until you get to the stage. Well,
no days off. No days off, black and white dichotomous mentality, which is very toxic in my opinion, but fight me. It's super important, because you have to think of your body as, well, we only get one body. How do you expect to perform efficiently if you are not giving yourself enough sleep? So we always say, and studies show 6 to 8 hours of sleep, you're performing optimally. In regards to rest days, you should probably be taking 2 to 3 rest days, depending on how close you're out to your show. I know my coach just pulled out 1 day of cardio, because I was saying, hey, my legs feel so inflamed, even though I'm just doing flat walking. And he was like, okay, let's switch over to the recumbent bike. And he's like, actually take a whole day off of cardio, just so we can let your legs relax, because there's going to be a lot of cortisol building up, whether or not we are stressed, mentally, but our body is stressed because of all the workouts that we do, of all the low calorie dieting that we're doing. If we're not giving ourselves that optimal recovery by just taking a whole rest day, how do we expect to set PRs? How do we expect our glycogen stores to absorb the carbs that we actually are consuming, and to just basically give ourselves that mental and physical break? You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I think people get so obsessed with the idea that the more they train, that's the best possible thing you can do in prep. I understand you want to be in a deficit. I understand you want to burn off as many calories as possible, but training 8, 9, 10 days in a row, plus cardio on top of that, you're going to burn yourself out. There's nothing you can do to stop it.
Yeah. So you're already in a deficit. Your body already knows it's in a deficit. So there's no reason for you to push for an extra day where you could be utilizing that rest day to recover, to just fully reset and give yourself that break, that mental and physical break.
Yeah, because it just depends. So it kind of depends, bulking versus cutting. But for a lot of my bulking athletes, I'd say a majority of my bulking athletes, I have them trained just 5 days a week. They get to choose the 5 days. It's typically 3 days on, 1 day off, 2 on, whatever. But I have them trained 5 days. When it comes to prep, maybe early on, early in prep, I have them trained 6 days a week, because they have so much food in their system, they can typically recover. But as we get deeper into prep, you might only need, 5 days a week or so. So it depends. But I do agree. Rest days are ridiculously important. And there's a reason why a lot of coaches will do, let's say about 2 weeks out or so, 3 weeks out, they'll give you a day and just have a refeed day or back-to-back refeed days, and you won't even be training those days. They want to make sure you're getting all the glycogen, all the calories in on top of resting. So don't train every single day, no matter what part of prep you're in, it's absurd.
Right. And then it's 2 weeks ago, I had back-to-back refeed days, and one of them was on a Sunday, and like old me would say, oh my God, I have to train like these
Yeah.
2 days, even though I just trained. But no, it was, I woke up 2 pounds lighter that following Monday from when I checked in on Friday.
Yeah.
Someone just asked, like, what happens when women sometimes don't get periods anymore? Is that a common thing on prep? It is very common. Um, I've met girls who actually got their periods on show day, which is great. Like, that's a good sign. I've met girls who have lost their periods when they were 2 months out from a show, which is also very common. I'm not going to say it's supposed to happen, but it is, again, it's very common. And usually the reason why is because we're lacking carbs, we're exercising a lot more, our body is going through a lot more, and like in regards to being lower fat, so hormone regulation again, and then high exercise intensity, so high cortisol levels, it's going to mess up your hormones. So yeah, it's not where you're amenorrheic per se, because that is a condition where you start to see other things in your body happen, such as hair loss, maybe even like lack of sleep, loss of appetite, sometimes uncontrollable binging. So yeah.
All right. No, I agree with that. And then on top of that too, I mean, nah, I guess you kind of covered it. I was gonna say something, but I was like, you kind of covered it kind of well. All right, no, that's fine. Branching on top of that, this is kind of a, I don't know, I don't want to touch too much on it, but I do want to talk about it. So they said, what are the most common steroids in women's, like the women aspect of competing, and then what would be the ones to for sure to stay away from? So,
Wow. I mean, everyone has their opinions, right? I've met women that have done tren. I've met women that have done testosterone. I've met women that have done Winstrol, Anavar, T3 all in one cycle. Very common ones I see amongst women competitors, and the Anavar and Cleanse Stack. In the past, I actually experimented with that for my previous show. I mean, I'm on a cycle now, but it's obviously needs to be cycled appropriately, and with guidance. So there are times where you do have to take a break from the anabolics, because you need to have your body just not adapt to what it is, what you're putting into it. So then that way you can go back to like some homeostasis where it's just like, okay, we're going to cut it out for like a week, maybe even 10 days, and you're going to put it back in so your body can react the same way without having to increase the dosage of it. Otherwise, I've seen women just do an absurd amount of drugs, specifically for divisions that they don't need to do drugs for. I mean, there's
I don't even.
There's natural bodybuilding associations. The last bodybuilding show I did, they tested us. I had to pee in a cup. And then you made a TikTok about some people claiming that they were natty, but obviously when they peed in a cup, it was just like, oh, here's a list of all the things that they're doing. So yeah.
From inner body possible.
Yeah, right. You just see it in their composition. You're just like, there's no way you could have put on that much muscle in 6 weeks, or there's no way you could have came in that hard in a week, so in essence, I firmly believe that the use of PEDs is not a bad thing. It's actually resourceful for some people. There comes a time in bodybuilding where you start to learn and tap, and like, this is what I believe. If once you have tapped into your genetics and you have like done everything in the book, right? You follow your macros, you do all your cardio, you try to get as best recovery as you can, and just things are not looking the way you should, then maybe you should consider it. But consult with your, with your coach, and your coach, as a responsible coach, they will tell you to get blood work done, and then that will be the underlying determinant of, okay, we're going to start implementing PEDs, but here's how we're going to do it. So yeah, that's just my theory and my understanding and beliefs on PEDs.
I want to add on to what you first said, asking your coach. Now, the problem nowadays, or just like in our industry as a whole, like everybody's a coach. Like like they've done one show, they got dead last, and now they're a coach. Or like they hired one of the coaches in the world. They themselves didn't do well, but now they're a coach. And then they just keep regurgitating everything they learned. Now, the problem is I've seen some really crazy cycles for men. Men, obviously, they can get hurt, but they aren't going to get hurt the same way women are. When women have that super deep voice or their hair starts falling out, they start getting like a jawline, that's not just going to go away. Like as a man, like my nuts are going to shrink. They're going to grow back. But for you, let's say you get this big ass jaw, your voice is going to be raspy for the next 2 months. You can't hide that. There's nothing you can physically do to hide it. And it could be there a while, especially the physical features. So the only scary part is like, how do you know what coach to trust? And I know a lot of people ask me, like, how do you know? It's like, I don't know how to answer that.
Right. And at the end of the day, like, you have to do your own background research on the coach. Like, maybe even ask for a second party opinion from the athlete themselves. Like, what was your experience with it? And just be open about it. Like, have you experimented with PEDs? And it's not a crime to ask a person, like, are you natty? In my opinion, like, when in my off season, when I was at the gym, I was peak off season. Some people were like, all right, what's your cycle? And I'm like, bro, I'm in off season. There's like, I'm not on any cycle right now. But obviously that just comes with good coaching and good programming. So, yeah.
So just to finish off on this topic, or just in general, like, I do want to give a couple examples so people aren't just like running wild shit. So I want to go over like some common ones and so not so common ones. So let's talk about like the basics that are, you know, kind of worldwide or just very popular in bikini. And the top two would be Anavar, which is a Austrian is very popular. I know I always say not to take Sarin, but for particularly Austrian, it's very popular in women. It's not very suppressive. It doesn't cause too much harm, but you have to make sure to test it is real. So the top two that are very minimal and, you know, issues is typically Anavar and Austrian. Now bumping down the list is kind of moderate in the middle, which I would probably say as you're going to figure, physique, bigger classes would be Winnie. You could do something like Primo, which you would need to test that Primo, because if it comes back testosterone, you are screwed. EQ's common-ish, but I wouldn't say it's very well known.
I don't think a lot of women use that. And maybe I just haven't used them, but EQ is something I only see.
I would say Primo would be like the go-to. Primo or Winnie's like in the middle when you're trying to kind of get to a bigger division. And then the ones that I would say that are like you're just trying to max it out would be like testosterone, like test probe, something that's in and out of your system. Now there's a bunch of compounds like NPP, Tren, whatever. They're up there, but you need to be going to open bodybuilding or some shit. Like that's not a bikini drug. That's not a figure drug. Like it's not that common.
No, it's not a men's physique drug, because I know some people that were like, oh, I'm gonna do NPP and Tren and EQ, and I'm just like,
you can't. Yeah, there's definitely safer alternatives to it. And then two that are kind of like unrelated would be, like you said, Clan, the Eka stack with ephedrine. T3 is in there, but I don't like suggesting T3 unless like it has to be the last 4 weeks of prep when your metabolism is absolutely screwed. There's nothing else you can do. You still want to push through the prep. Then yeah, sure, maybe add in some T3, but it has to be like a last resort. Nothing bothers me more than when I see a plan that has like T3 starts at 9 weeks out, starts at 10 weeks out. No, you don't know when it starts. You need it at the end if you need it at all. And then the last, like human growth hormone, HGH is very common. I know not a lot of people talk about it because it costs thousands of dollars to get legit, but it is in there. So yeah. And the last one I'm missing, estrogen blockers. So Novadex, Arimidex. They're not steroids. They're estrogen blockers. And that's probably one of the things that would actually work the best. You wouldn't even need to shut down or do any kind of crazy thing. It just cuts out all the water, dries you up. It might make you feel like shit, but it would be much safer than using Winstrol or MPP or Tren. And what's easy to hold of. So I just want to touch on a little bit and just say the things you don't want to do. And that would be testosterone, Tren, NPP. That's just not women friendly anymore. So stick with it out of right. That's kind of an interesting question, but in your opinion, or in our opinion, who do you think has worse body dysmorphia in bodybuilding, men or women? So after you do a show, who do you think has it worst?
And so okay, I actually just did my term paper on body dysmorphia in men. So that was actually my recent term paper for whoever asked that. And the studies did show like more men do suffer from body dysmorphia, but they do it silently. And then when I say silently is they don't discuss it openly with their peers. They don't discuss it openly with their significant others because they are either not coming to terms with it because they don't know how to identify like what is this issue that I'm facing? Why is it that I'm so obsessed with how I look in contrast to how I should feel? So I'm not going to say men suffer more from it, but it's just from the studies that I read, it was just men tend to bottle it down more than women are open about it. So that's just, again, I'm not going to say statistics because I did not read any statistics saying like it's women, but we all, I'm going to say like to finish that, we all have it. I mean, sometimes I look at myself, especially being this close out, I'm like, I'm not like, good enough. But that's why we have coaches to be our second pair of eyes. So I just let my coach do all the work for me, and I just am like, yo, throw me whatever I need to do, and I will do it. So,
Yep. And And that's pretty much like what our clients pay us for. Like, I try to tell my clients, if you want to learn something, I will happily explain it to you. I will explain to you every single aspect of what is on the plan and why I gave it to you. But at the same time, I have half my clients who are like, I don't care what it is. I'm going on cruise control. You give it to me, you give me the cardio, and I will do exactly that. So that's pretty, that's what you're paying your coach for. That's what they pay us for. So it's the same idea. But in terms of body dysmorphia, being like a guy that, I do compete or, will continue to compete, like I still do have it, no matter how I get. I remember I won like 5 shows in a row. My last year at competing, I won all 5, and 2 overalls. And no matter what, I was like, bro, I look like shit. Like I could look so much better. Like I didn't win 5 overalls, I won 2. So like it was just always in the back of my head. I was like, bro, why am I like this? Like why am I so obsessed with winning, like looking so great? And I was like, oh yeah, this is bodybuilding. But I never had that mind state until I got into bodybuilding. I didn't care what it looked like. I played baseball. I was skinny as hell. But like once I started lifting weights and like caring about what other people thought, like being judged by my physique, like it was just always there. So I don't know. I would say that men for sure have it. They may not talk about it, but they for sure.
Oh, they for sure do. And a lot of it also has to do with like who they surround themselves with, like, and the sociocultural things about it. I remember reading in one of the articles that I was including in my term paper is the more that men are in the gym, especially some people as young as 15, they're like, I want to look like that guy and I want to do it as fast as possible. What do I do? And then obviously you have the idiots in the gym that are like, this is what they do. And I know for sure when really you're looking at a guy that probably did like 10 bodybuilding shows, probably has a history of like steroid use, but is also just no longer doing any of that. And he just looks like that. Yeah. Like, and then you have like graduated high school or first year college boy that's like, I know everything that he does. So here, buy these supplements, right?
Does this, I need to do that.
Right.
Yeah. I know you don't have TikTok, so it's kind of hard to talk about, but for the people who are watching, they might have TikTok. So TikTok right now, a trend right now was like from 14 to like 19, like that teenager range. Like they're so obsessed with getting the results now, like ASAP. They want to be the next sebum. They want to be the next thing. And it's like, they're not just doing the steroids. They're not just doing SARMs. They're documenting it. And they'll be like, guess what, guys? Today is my first day of testosterone and ostarine. Today is my first day. And like, they're like 15, 16, 17-year-old kids. And it's like, oh my God, bro. Like when I was like 16, bro, I was like, I don't know, I was playing at the damn park. I wasn't blasting track.
I was worried about like who was going to win homecoming queen.
Yeah, and like they're so obsessed with like getting big and alpha, and I'm like, oh my God, bro, like this is why I want to open a TRT clinic, because in about 3 years they're gonna be screwed and they're gonna need testosterone, and I'm gonna be the one, they're gonna have to come to me. But
injecting their blood.
Yeah, all jokes aside, they're like a really sad trend, and it's like getting really out of hand.
I hope people like watching this that are on TikTok or just big followers of Cody. I hope you guys understand that you have to tap into your genetics before you can tap into PEDs. And also just experiment with, your food intake. Maybe even try to look into some strength blocks. Like, I don't know, maybe if you really want to look like Sebum, just look at the way he's training without all like the enhancers and all that.
Yep. Yeah. And I try to tell people, like, obviously PEDs are a part of our sport. They're a part of every sport. They always will be. But there's no way you can say that training, diet, cardio, sleep is like not number one. Like if you can't do that right, how are you going to hop on drugs, But
right. Like you have to nail the 5 thing, or like you have to nail the whole 9 before you can add, the external thing. Someone said it's my cousin.
Cody's TRT couldn't come. Oh, I'm saving up, guys. Don't think I'm joking. That's going to be a $1 million idea. But all right. What are some tips you would give someone who is currently a powerlifter and they want to switch to bodybuilding?
Oh, this is fun. Actually, one of my friends, Sarah, she's on my bodybuilding team. She's actually competing in the Lehigh Valley NPC show tomorrow. She actually did a powerlifting meet and then had the Ohio Natural with me 4 weeks out. So what she did, from my understanding, is she obviously had to diet down to make weight. She carved up the day before her meet. Actually I think she did like 6 state records or something like that. She did really well. And then she went and she won an overall. Obviously, everyone's body is different, but she came in looking pretty lean to begin with, but they did cut down, from what I understand. They increased her cardio. They cut down her food. So really, it's just about how you transition and the approaches to it. Like if you have a coach that understands like the big transition from the training block that you're doing and also the macros, then you're pretty solid. I don't see a problem with anyone doing a powerlifting meet and wanting to be a bodybuilder. So yeah, I mean, I've considered doing a powerlifting meet just to put on muscle. I mean, that's just how they do it. It's better to do it that way.
The only thing I would say, because I did coach Jake, he's like a classic physique and then powerlifter in the off season. And like the only thing I was worried about was he would train so heavy, and I was like, man, all it's gonna take is one step, and you're gonna pull your back. You're gonna hurt something. It's gonna like sacrifice everything we've worked for to get you in classic. So that would be the only thing I would be scared of, trying to do both. But at the end of the day, if you're not C-bum or someone that like competing is your life, like you get a paycheck from competing, then yeah, you should have fun. You know, you might get bored. You know, I get bored of bodybuilding sometimes. It's the only thing I've done. But
right.
I was a powerlifter from 16 to 19. I don't even know if you knew that, but I was a powerlifter from 16 to 19, and it was unintentional. Like I just like my gym is a powerlifting gym by my house, so like I thought that was bodybuilding. I didn't know the difference, right. So I would just train.
Cool.
Yeah, train as heavy as possible, 3 to 5 sets of 5 and whatever. Just got super strong, and I would look in the mirror and was like, yo, why am I not getting bigger? Like why am I just like, why am I so goddamn strong? And then that's where the Dyel'd came from. Like, do you even lift? Because like I was strong as, but I literally looked like a little kid. But either way. But yeah, my first step that I did from switching to powerlifting to bodybuilding was I just increased the reps. I didn't change my diet. I added a little bit more cardio, but I switched from 5 sets of 5 or 5 sets of 3, whatever, really heavy. And I bumped it upwards of 3 to 4 sets of 8 to 12, and then added in a little bit more isolation. And then within a year, I probably packed on a good pounds of muscle. I grew so quick from hypertrophy. Like, whoa, I'm weak as hell, but I'm growing. Like, this is such a weird, like, transition. Right. Just that it will play with your head that you won't be as strong.
Yeah. Right. I feel like a part of me also, because I never was a power lifter to begin with. I was never like chasing like PR numbers, but I used to be a boxer for so long. I played soccer. That's where my quads came from. And so when I started doing like just going to the gym in general, because I took a weightlifting class in high school, like just because that's what I needed to take to graduate, I was like, oh, this is fun. And we were just like, oh, this is what your height needs to hit if you want to hit like a record, or just like percentage wise, this is what girls are doing your height. And that's eventually how I got into weightlifting. So it wasn't ever like following a basic structure plan. I was just like, oh. And obviously, like as a girl, as a really short, stocky girl, like it was noticeable that I was putting on more muscle at such a younger age. And I was just like, eh. And obviously like hormones. So yeah.
All right. Well, hope their question. All right. So when it comes to mobility work, like let's say mobility, stretching, anything like that, how much do you do per week?
I try to do it as much as I can. So actually I just went and I got mobility done by my chiropractor. He readjusted me, especially when you're doing a bodybuilding show, you want to come in looking as symmetrical as possible. What that can also do for you is it can definitely stimulate your parasympathetic nervous system to just calm down. And that's what we need, because you need to be flushed. So it looks like you're not holding on to so much water come show day. But in regards to mobility, especially if you're a power lifter or a bodybuilder, I think it's important to do it as much as you can, post workout, even like on rest days, just to really focus on keeping everything just nice and loose. So yeah.
All right. Yeah. No, I mean, I guess it's kind of the same, but yeah, I typically hit up the chiropractor no less than once a month. It's mandatory. It just makes me feel good. And if you guys have insurance, you're under 26 and your parents got insurance, all that shit is covered. Acupuncture, chiropractor, all these things are covered. You just have to ask. You know, you just have to check your insurance, and they pretty much take most insurances. So take advantage. When it comes to stretching, I have super bad anterior pelvic tilt. I stretch every night to help it out. And yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much it. Let's see here. This is a good question. I guess we could try and discuss it in the most polite way as possible. But what do you look for in a coach? This is for a woman trying to hire a coach. What do you look for in a coach when there's so many guys that are creeps, perverts, etc.? So what would you say when a girl is inquiring to work with like a male coach? What would be some signs to like look for that may be negative?
So you know what's funny is, now I think about it, all the coaches I worked with were men for personal needs. But I ask the women on the team, like, what's he like? Is there anything that how comfortable do you feel with checking in with him? Because obviously this is kind of like where the boundaries and the weary, I would say, sets in. You're just like, no. But my coach, I see he works with all women. And then I also know he's married. And before that, I met him when he was, just dating this girl, dating his wife, and they got married. So I was just like, okay, maybe I should just ask him and ask people like what it's like. So yeah, I mean, again, just go to a third party opinion or a second person opinion, or to someone who's experienced it. Obviously, I also kind of look at the turnover rate. Like, how long has this person been working with this, this coach? Is there a reason why this coach does not have a consistent team going? But That's not the case with my team, I'm just saying. But yeah, so.
It's something I would love to be like. You know, I need to find 2 assistant coaches before I get to that level, and I have to stop turning people away. But maybe the next 2 years when I have 2 people I trust, I could have an empire as well. But yeah, I really like your team for sure.
Really cool. Bare aesthetics, for those of you that don't know. So
Absolutely. All right. So a couple things here. I don't want to say their name, but did you know all the drama that happened a couple months ago with that one particular team? And like all of these girls came out, you know, he coaches tons of the best men in the world. And a bunch of girls came out like a month ago, 2 months ago, and just saying that like he would touch them at check-ins and like, not like, just actually grab their ass and be like, you know what, this needs to be harder. And like, he was just touching on them. He threw himself on top of them, like one-on-one when they were doing like 1 day out check-ins and stuff, like all this crazy shit. And like, no one came out about it. Like a couple people did, and they said there's no way that happened. Like he's just like checking you out, like coaching wise. And I was like, man, like I don't know how you'd even go about talking about that. You know, how would you even like happening? Because if no one's talking about it and you ask them, you know, they're gonna say no because I don't know. But I guess from my point of view, being that I do see half naked chicks half the time for like, and guys too for check-ins, it's like I still try to keep it professional. You know, like maybe in the past I've had girls say some flirty shit in check-ins. I'm like, yo, that's not happening. You know, like that's my reputation's on the line. I would never do that. But I do know some male coaches that like have hooked up with a girl clients. I'm like, bro, that's the #1 rule, man, for personal training or anything that you have power over your client. You can't do that. Yeah. So yeah, as you said, I would definitely go to whatever team you want to go to. For example, go to my team, go pick some girls, go pick some guys, DM them, ask them how they like working with me, and that's it. You know, even working for her. So I would do that.
Just so desensitized now. I'm just like, oh yeah, your glutes look good, or look at your delts, and dude, your back looks huge. And to me, it's just like they rather hear these affirmations, and I am being honest with them. So yeah, it's not like I'm just like, hey, your ass got fat, you know. Like I feel like it also comes down to
and like if you were talking about somebody's butt, like if I'm talking about someone's butt, I'm not gonna be like, yo, your ass is fat. I wouldn't say that, but I'd be like, yo, you know, your left glute needs work and the right one's good, or like this hip, like the mobility, like whatever, it's tight. Like I would say something like that, but I've done it for so long that it's like I don't look at it like that. Like I'm just numb to it. Everything kind of seems the same to me. But I'm sure the same is for you, like coaching guys. Like you're just used to it. You don't see a shirtless guy like sexual. You just see it like they're paying me to help them get in shape.
Right. So, for me, sitting through like numerous bodybuilding shows and seeing men in like banana hammocks, I'm just like, yeah, his glutes are cool, or look at his chest. He's not symmetrical, or this could use work, you know, stuff like that. So I'm just like, it's whatever to me.
All right, so let's keep it going. Let's see here. So someone asked specifically, how do you feel about using testosterone in prep? So this is a woman. Now, I guess what they were getting at is that there's a lot of rumors or stigma, whatever word you want to use. There's a lot of talk about once you leave bikini, that's when the real drug use has to happen. Like that's kind of like what they're referring to, or going from bikini to wellness. There's a lot of talk about you need to use these extra drugs to get to the next level. So I believe for this question, they're referring going from bikini to wellness. So they're saying like their coach wanted them to use testosterone propionate, or just a fast acting testosterone. And my response, they asked me privately before too, and I was like, no.
Why?
Like the reason why? Yeah. So I was like, I'm not saying you need to go hop on some Anavar and Winstrol, but if those were your 2 choices and you were trying to compare those to testosterone, like, why are you going to use something that's stronger, something that's injectable, something that, you know, it's not forgivable? You're going to get the results you want very quickly. It'll happen very quickly. But once that throat starts getting raspy, or your voice gets raspy, once your jawline gets more defined, once you start growing some freaking nipple hair hanging out here, you know, like that's not
wondering why and who I don't know. I mean, I know there are so many popular coaches out there that like have successful women that are on a bunch of, you know, men like synthetic drugs for men, or that men would use. But it's like for divisions like wellness, bikini, figure, why would you ever think that you have to have testosterone? Obviously, it just means you need to take a longer time in your off season. You need to eat more in a surplus. You need to be following a different training protocol instead of just hypertrophy. Like you need to be doing strength blocks now instead of just your regular like 150 lateral raises or 100 push-ups, like, or 500 hip thrusts. I don't know. Like I just like I just the soft spot.
I think the main problem is that, I mean, I'm guilty of it too sometimes, but it's like they're amateurs, you know, they're beginners, or they're people who've done a couple shows, and they compare themselves to the top 5 pro show or the top 2 of the pro show or top 5 of the Olympian. It's like, you don't understand that those women, like, this is their life. They're getting a paycheck to do what it is they're doing. They don't want to have kids, or they already have, like, this is now their life. And it's like, you're a 18 to 22-year-old girl with her whole life ahead of her, and you want to inject testosterone and lower the chance of you having kids, increase the chance of having terrible, you know, side effects that will happen. And it's like, for what? You know, like, you're not, I don't know. I don't know what to tell them. By the time they ask me, their mind's already made up. They just want to have like reassurance, but they're going to do it anyway. I tell them not to, but
yeah, they're going to hear what they want to hear. It's called selective hearing.
Yes. The other day when you ask 10 coaches the same question just so you can get your one answer or something like that. But either way.
I was like, yeah.
All right, this is a good question, just because I know I'm bulking right now, and I know you just came off a bulk too. But what would you give some tips to a girl who's trying to gain weight and they have no appetite, just no appetite at all, and they're struggling to get food in, but they want to build muscle, they want to get bigger?
Man, honestly, okay, so like from a standpoint of someone who actually stopped getting hungry through her bulk, you kind of just got to ask yourself, what is your goal? Like, your muscles aren't going to feed itself, so kind of just got to suck it up. I mean, for me, what really got me through like a bulking period was smoothies, just because I was like, okay, I can mindlessly drink this as I'm walking around. And then like, your body doesn't know it's hungry until probably 20 minutes into when you're eating, and that's why people say, oh, I'm still hungry, because you're stimulating these hormones. I think it's like leptin and ghrelin. And then you're just like, the body's like, oh, food, you're going to be hungry even though you just ate. So I think it's also getting in tune with hunger cues, as well as, okay, what foods are actually going to satiate me and satisfy my cravings. So yeah, I mean, if you're not hungry but you know you need a bulk, I know it's hard, but just do it, just eat. I always tell myself it could be so much worse, where you're just in a deficit every day and you're hungry all the time. So yeah.
For you personally, just because you're deep in a prep, what do you think is harder? Do you think that like force feeding and getting as big as possible in the off season is harder, or like what you're doing now, doing, 80, 90 minutes of cardio, very low calorie, like which is harder?
I personally think bulking is harder, and a lot of my friends can agree with that. I had a friend, one of my good friends, Kelly, I saw her on here. She was pushing almost close to 500 carbs a day just in her off season. Like, huh?
Is she a bigger like chick, like more muscular?
Me.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. Ramped up her metabolism for show. But she was like, people think that this is fun. They think like, and I remember there were topics like posted like they think it's fun, or this bikini girl said like people think it's fun to eat and all until you have to actually like weigh out everything and look at how much you actually have to eat, and it's like it can be intimidating. Like I've had friends that had to push 550 carbs and they're girls, and like 80 grams of fat, and they're like, I just don't know how to do this. Like they would legit eat butter stick.
Boyfriend's eating. Probably.
There, I don't know. He's probably eating right now. I smell something. So
yeah, quite well too. But he's like 3,500 calories or so.
Yeah.
All right, but yeah, just from my point of view, whether you're a guy, whether you're a girl, bulking sucks. I'm bulking right now. I got hurt and couldn't train for a year, so I physically have to pack on all my muscle back to be competitive by next year. So I will be eating, upwards of 3,600 calories per day, and it sucks. I do not look forward to eating. I hate eating at this point. Nothing tastes good. Like, I'm just eating rice, potatoes, chicken, steak, salmon, and like that's really all you can do. Like, yeah, I could go have pizza, I can go have burgers and whatnot. It's like that's not the type of I have,
Yeah.
But I also do, like you, I do smoothies. I also do the instant pancake mix every once in a while works too, but that's a conversation for another day. But
also when I was in like bulking, it was just like, okay, I'm just gonna eat the same thing but just increase like the amount of rice, increase the amount of protein. But then I also wanted to make it fun, so I would eat like Pop-Tarts or Rice Krispie treats, or even just had cereal instead of like my 250 grams of egg whites and 2 slices of bread. So just gave myself some variety there.
There you go. All right. So we got about 14 minutes left before it boots us off. So let's get through the final questions. And if you guys have any questions in the chat, feel free to drop them. All right. It's kind of an interesting question. I wasn't really sure to word it, but I just worded the way they wanted it. So how do you feel about women getting addicted to PEDs and just ignoring the side effects? Like when you get the jawline, getting all those things, like they want to win so bad, they want to place so bad that they ignore everything happening to them. How do you feel about that?
Your body, your choice. I'm not going to tell you what to do and tell you what not to do, but at the end of the day, people are going to do what they want to do. So, yeah.
That's well said. No, I agree.
I'm not going to like, you shouldn't be doing this. Maybe some people don't even want to have kids anymore, that they're like, bodybuilding, me, PEDs, I'm game for whatever I can take to look like that. So I'm just like, you know what? That's fine. So, yeah.
So from my experience, there's a couple different things, because I know a couple like really good, I don't know any like top 5 Olympian, but I know some pro physique girls. And it's like, when I talk to them, their mindset is like what mine would be if I was trying to be the best. Like, they don't care, you know, like they have the mindset of like a man, but it's like I said, for guys, like, yes, we would be taking years off our life, but we're not affecting ourselves physically. We're already men. We're already masculine. If we get a more chiseled jawline, girls would probably like it. But women, if you have this big crimson chin jaw, it's not going to be the best look. So it's like, I don't know. They just don't care. And like, it's fine. I'm not their dad. I can't tell them not to do it. But it's almost like they aren't thinking long-term. They're thinking like really short-term. I'm going to get there. I'm going to get my pro card. I'm going to win. And then they don't care about what's going to happen 5-6 years from now, when like they have this weird freaking looking skin. They got this big ass jaw, you know, their quit looks like this. I don't know.
Yeah. I just know
not thinking through, but it is what it is.
And like, I know a lot of people in general, like they're seeing a lot of people win their pro card in their first year, like in their first rookie year. I think in like 2020, even when the world was shut down, I knew like, I want to say like 5 people that I knew won their pro cards in their first year. And a lot of people are like, I want to be like her on by our. And I'm thinking, look, there's genetics, there's probably PEDs, but there's also the coaching that they were doing prior to the prep. So there's always going to be a prep before the prep. And that's what leads to this, you know, pro card win. And it's like, your time will come. Just be patient.
Yeah, because there was one guy, I don't know if you know the guy Fedimo. Do you know him?
You
might know if you saw him, but he's like one of the best men's physique guys. And like, this was 2017 when I competed against him, and he smoked me. Like, he turned pro like a week later. But I talked to him online like later, and then he's like, oh yeah, I never competed before. Like, so his rookie season, like he had already been working out like 8-10 years. Like, he was like a really veteran at working out. He looked amazing. And then he's like, you know what, maybe I should try competing. So he tried competing, won an overall, went to nationals, turned pro. 2 weeks later, won a pro show. And it's like, this dude went from a nobody to a pro to an Olympian his first year of training, or first year, of competing. It's like, that doesn't happen. You know, like everybody who's like their first 1 or 2 years of lifting think that's going to happen. No, they've been training 5, 8, 10 years. That's why they're so great. You know, people aren't really thinking that part through. They think it's the drugs, and it's not that simple. All right. Yeah. So this question came from your side. How did you get into fitness? I know you kind of talked about in the very beginning, but you could just give like a particular story, anything that kind of sticks out.
Yeah, so actually, I mean, to keep it short, I was a nursing major. I hated it. I was so stressed that I actually got in a car accident on my way back from nursing lab. And then I realized, like, that same day, I actually had gotten a job offer to be a personal trainer at the local gym, UFC gym, and falling in love with it. And I was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to take this time off of school, because I was doing, like, community college nursing classes. And then I was like, I'm just going to tap in to see what's up with kinesiology. Applied to East Bay because I transferred from DVC, and then I got in. Was just a personal trainer I'm still a personal trainer. And then I decided, look, I want to have my own business. I want to run things the way I want to. And here I am now. So, yeah.
Sounds simple enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess mine's kind of even more simple than that. Like, I just always played baseball, and I wanted to be a professional baseball player. And it was my junior year in high school. I was trying to train to get big as possible. And like, that's when I stumbled upon this powerlifting gym. So I just went there all the time, was getting stronger, actually got better at baseball. And then I went to East Bay, and I was second string. And I was like, man, like, what do I have to do to be first string? I want to be bigger. I want to be bigger. So like, I just stopped playing. I was like, I'm going to take a year off. I'm going to get as big as possible, you know, got more into bodybuilding. And then I went back to play baseball, and like, I had no range of motion. I couldn't swing a bat. Like, I just ruined my baseball career. Yeah. Ruined my career by trying to be like a big ass player. So that failed. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to stick with bodybuilding. I grew quick. Like, these are my genetics, and it's kind of how it happened, you know?
Yeah, it happens. Yeah, for me, I was also a multi-sport athlete growing up. I did boxing for like since I was 11 until I was 18, and I did soccer and taekwondo. So I guess a lot of the disciplinary stuff like that goes into bodybuilding is kind of ingrained in me from boxing and taekwondo, like the dieting, show up to practice and like work everything with intent, stuff like that. So yeah, I just got in bodybuilding because I saw people doing it and I was like, what are you, like, people at the gym, like they became pros in like mid 2010. So this was before even like wellness was a big thing. And bikini became booming around like 2018, I believe. So I was just like, or 2015. So I was like, hey, I asked like about it and they were like, oh yeah, I'm an IFBB pro. I compete. This is what I do. And I was just like, sounds like something I'd be interested in. So yeah. And then I realized, wow, this is a big community. So yeah.
How many total coaches have you had? Have you had like 4? I've only had a couple.
I've only had, so Dylan is my third coach. Okay. And I have Bryce as my programming coach, but they work together. And then, and then Mike, Mike Knoll, he's my posing coach. But I had 2 coaches before I worked with Bare Aesthetics, and this is probably the best that my physique has looked. So
nice. Yeah, it's all about leveling up. Got to do it. All right. Yeah, no, that's pretty much all the questions I had, or all the ones I want to go over. So anybody who's still left in the chat, if you guys have any questions, drop it in. And then for you, if there's any questions or topics you want to discuss with me while I'm still here, it'll probably kick us off at like 8:01 or so, but we still got a couple more minutes if you want to discuss anything. Just let me know.
I don't think I have anything to discuss, mainly just because my brain is like half here. So yeah, but this was fun. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Yeah. Ask questions.
Yeah. I'll drop some questions then, just because I know you're in prep right now. So what would you say is different in this prep versus your other one? So you don't have to like say the coach's name, but like what would you say is like different from the 3 coaches you had? Like what changed?
Well, number one, the coach that I work with now is a dietitian, and not only did they make blood work like mandatory, they were just like, you need to get it done before prep, you need to get it done in the middle of your bulk, and like I actually got blood work done 2 weeks ago. So all the careful analysis of that, and then I actually feel like I don't have to work towards a refeed. It's like, okay, I actually know when my body needs it, versus when I used to think with my first coach, oh, I need to work hard so then I can get a refeed. When I was just like, wait, refeeds are like supposed to help us, you know, sustain the weight loss, and to keep it going. I'm not doing cardio every single day. I also have only done HIIT probably like 6 weeks out of the entire 27 weeks I've been prepping. So instead of doing it like 8 weeks out every day for 8, just a lot of things. The mindset is very different too. The team that I'm a part of feels more like a family than it ever has. Everyone's just rooting each other on, so that's pretty awesome. So yeah.
That's definitely the goal I want to have for my team, because I know like it's hard. I know he has coach or clients everywhere, but it's like mine are spaced out all over the world. Like before it was like I had just tons all over Southern California, Northern California. Now it's like I have them California, Texas, Florida, like freaking Australia. And it's like, man, like I can't really get the whole family vibe because we never see each other. Like, yeah, we have group chats and stuff, but it's so hard to mimic it. And I see him like go to the shows and there's like 100 of you guys. I'm like, wow, like that's something I want to have like down the line as it grows. It's such a cool thing to have.
Our college show, he'll be there. He's competing. Right. Yeah. And
your coach.
Yeah, he's competing, and then he's probably going to do, I think he's going to do Tennessee the week after. So, yeah.
Nice. Okay. No, it'd be kind of cool to talk to him. Maybe we'll link up on that. I feel like there's a question I'm missing here. Actually, yeah, this is one question I'd like to ask everybody. So if you had to go back in time, what would be one thing you would change or tell yourself, you know, your younger self fitness-wise? Like what would you change, or what would you tell yourself like to do differently?
It takes time. And for me, because I remember just being 18 and walking into UFC gym and seeing all these coaches, like asking them like, what do you eat and all that, and just telling myself like everyone is different and it doesn't matter like what we look like as long as we feel healthy and we're happy with our bodies. Because I just remember going through phases of like, God, like what is the best diet plan for me? And I'm sure all of us can relate to that. Or how can I get, like for women is like, how can I get rid of this lower body, like, or this little stomach pouch? And realizing now, like that's there because it's protecting our uterus. It's not going to go away no matter how lean I get. Like I even tell my friends, like, they're just like, how do I get rid of this? I said, girl, you know, I have that too. And they're like, where? And then I grab it. I'm like, it's here, you know, like, but yeah, it's just constantly not compare yourself to other people. So.
All right, cool. No, I agree with that. And I honestly would probably say something similar to that. It's like when I first started bodybuilding, how do I say this? I took too many opinions from people. Like I chose like 50 people and asked them all the same question. And like, I was just like looking for the right answer, like the answer I wanted to hear. Like I would just like try and copy everything they all told me. I was like, man, I should have just like asked a couple people, did more research on my own, and then came up with my own conclusion. And like in the very beginning, ask somebody who was bigger than me, and I would just take their word for it, no matter what it was, whether it was drugs. I didn't use them, but it's like I would still ask them, and they're like, "Oh, you need testosterone." I'm like, hell yeah, I do need testosterone. That's what I. It's like,
maybe I should. So I haven't like done my research. I don't know. I think that's funny.
Exactly.
Most
but
guys.
Either way, guys, I will wrap up here before it boots us off on its own. But I did want to say, thank you for taking time out of your day. I know you're busy and you got work and prep and whatnot. So thank you for hopping on. Maybe we'll do it again sometime.
Yeah, maybe we can do it like when I'm in my peak bulk, because I feel like a lot of women need to hear what it's like to actually be in a bulk.
Yeah, no, that'd be dope. And then I'll talk about how I'm just, eating 1,000,000 calories and we'll just compare to some shit.
For sure. All right, thanks.
But either way, all right. Thanks for watching. Later.